Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling strangely drained, like the life was quietly pulled out of you? No shouting, no insults, no obvious attacks. In fact, the other person seemed gentle, kind, maybe even full of compliments. And yet, when it was over, you felt smaller, emptier, and less certain of yourself. That uneasy feeling isn't your imagination. It's a signal, a warning sign that you may have just crossed paths with someone carrying what I call a dark heart, a person who hides behind kindness, warmth, and concern. These people don't slam doors. They don't raise their voices. They don't openly humiliate you. They do something far more subtle. They smile while they chip away at your confidence. Maybe you've seen this at work. That colleague who praises you in front of the team, but whispers to the boss that you're a bit unstable or not quite ready for bigger opportunities. Or maybe it's closer to home. A family member who says they love you, who insists they only want the best for you, but somehow you end up feeling controlled, drained, and never quite free. This is the face of hidden toxicity. Not the loud, obvious kind, but the kind that sneaks into your mind disguised as care. And that's what makes it so dangerous. You don't realize you're being diminished until one day you look in the mirror and wonder where your confidence went. But let me be clear, today's video isn't about condemning people or fueling anger. We're not here to turn life into a battlefield of enemies. That's not the Stoic way. We're here to understand, to recognize, to protect, to learn how to walk through a world full of masks without losing the peace within ourselves. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, faced betrayal at the highest levels of power, political backstabbing, manipulation, people smiling to his face while plotting behind his back. And yet, he wrote in his meditations that our task is not to rage against such people, but to observe them, to stay calm, and to use them as training for our clarity and composure. Epictetus put it even more sharply. You can't control what others say about you, but you can absolutely control what you allow into your mind. In other words, their words only have power if you grant them entry. So what are we really doing in this video? We're going to lift the mask on 5 types of dark-hearted people, not to demonize them, not to make you paranoid, but to help you see clearly where the subtle attacks may be coming from, and more importantly, how to respond with stoic strength. Because the truth is, these people don't defeat you by force. They don't overpower you with rage. They win by suggestion, by planting seeds of self-doubt until you no longer trust yourself. And once you stop trusting yourself, you become easier to control. But here's the good news. When you recognize the pattern, the game is over. The Stoics teach us that your peace doesn't depend on other people's behavior. It depends on your response. And once you claim that truth, no manipulator, no false friend, no dark heart can steal your worth. So if you've ever wondered why you feel so empty after certain conversations, if you've ever felt smaller when someone claimed they were just helping, if you've ever questioned your own strength because of someone else's subtle nuances, words, this video is for you. We're going to break down the masks one by one. We'll look at the smooth manipulator disguised as a friend, the pretender who only loves the weakest version of you, the quiet controller, the subtle saboteur, and the energy drainer. And with each one, we'll uncover not just how to spot them, but how to meet them with the calm, unshakable strength of Stoic philosophy. Because the real goal isn't to fight them, and it's not to cut everyone out of your life. The real goal is this: to never give anyone the power to define your worth but you. So let's begin. Let's begin with the first mask, the friendly manipulator. This is the person who never raises their voice. They don't insult you. They don't openly disagree. In fact, they might be one of the kindest, most supportive people in your circle, or so it seems. They nod when you talk, they smile warmly, and they offer what sounds like wise, constructive feedback. But here's the catch. Every time you walk away from them, You feel just a little smaller than before. Your confidence is chipped, your clarity a bit clouded. They make you question yourself in ways you can't quite explain. Imagine this. You're at work, excited about a new idea. Your colleague listens, praises your creativity, and then gently adds, "It's really good," but you tend to get a bit impulsive sometimes. Maybe you should let someone else double-check your plan. On the surface, it feels like helpful advice. But later, when you think about it, you don't feel empowered. You feel diminished. You feel like maybe you aren't capable after all. That's the power of the friendly manipulator. They don't control you through force, they control you by planting seeds of doubt. They position themselves as the helper, the wise friend. But underneath, they're quietly shaping you to fit their comfort, not your potential. I once knew someone like this. During team meetings, he would praise my leadership qualities in front of everyone. But later, in private, he would drop subtle comments to our boss like, "He's talented, but maybe not stable enough for bigger responsibilities." At first, I thought it was honest feedback, until I noticed I was being passed over for major projects while he advanced. That's when I realized he wasn't helping me grow. He was keeping me beneath him. And this is what makes the friendly manipulator so dangerous. They don't come at you with anger, they come at you with kindness. And because of that, you don't resist, you absorb. So how do we respond? Here's where Stoicism shines. Marcus Aurelius never said we should rage against people like this. He said we should observe them, like someone watching a play unfold. See them for what they are, without letting their words pierce your core. Epictetus gave us a tool for this. He wrote, "You can't control what others say about you, but you can absolutely control what you allow to enter your mind." That's the secret. Their words are only seeds. But you decide whether to plant them or let them blow away in the wind. Think about it. How many times have you adjusted yourself, not because you wanted to, but because someone else's friendly advice made you doubt your instincts? How many times have you stepped back from your own power just to maintain their comfort? A Stoic doesn't respond with anger. They don't need to argue or prove themselves. They respond with clarity. With inner distance, they say silently, "This may be your story about me, but it is not my truth." So if there's someone in your life who leaves you feeling a little less certain after every conversation, be cautious. They may not hate you, but they don't want you to be stronger than them either. And here's the takeaway. You don't need to cut them off dramatically. You don't need to fight them. You only need to reclaim your worth. To remind yourself that no one, not even a smiling friend, has the authority to define who you are. Because the friendly manipulator doesn't win by force. They win by suggestion. And once you stop accepting their suggestions, they lose their grip. Now let's move to the second mask, the fake love. This type doesn't show up with open negativity. They don't criticize you harshly. They don't tell you directly what to do. Instead, they wrap themselves in warmth. They show up like the best friend you've ever had. They cheer for you. They listen to you. They're always there, especially when you're down. And that's the key. They thrive on your lowest moments. When you're broken, confused, or lost, they suddenly become your lifeline. They're available, supportive, endlessly caring. It feels comforting, like you've finally found someone who understands you better than anyone else. But here's the test. Watch what happens when you start to rise, when you begin to heal, to stand taller, to take control of your own life. That's when the mask slips. The fake love doesn't celebrate your growth. Instead, they pull away. Or worse, they start to mock it. You'll hear subtle comments like, "Wow, you've changed. You're not the same anymore, huh? Looking sharp today, trying to turn back the clock?" It's disguised as humor, but it hits where it hurts most. I once had a friend like this. When I was struggling, she was always there texting, calling, checking in, offering support. But as I began to get my life in order, setting boundaries, saying no when I needed to. Her tone shifted. One day she messaged me, "You've changed so much. Guess you're too busy with your new friends now." It wasn't that I'd become cold. I had simply stopped feeding her need for emotional dependency. And that's when I realized she wasn't rooting for me. She was rooting for me to stay small. This is what makes the fake love so destructive. They don't want the best version of you, they want the weakest version of you, because that's when they feel needed. That's when they feel powerful. So what do? The Stoics give us clarity here. Seneca once wrote, "Don't hate those who are not genuine. See them as tests of your clarity and inner steadiness." The answer isn't rage, and it's not guilt. It's observation. It's discernment. A real friend loves you through your growth. They cheer when you succeed. They accept the stronger, wiser, more independent version of you. But the fake love only values you when you're down, because that's when they can still hold on to you. And here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Who in your life only claps when you're struggling? Who grows distant the moment you rise? Who tries to guilt you for changing? Those are not your true supporters. Those are anchors disguised as safety nets. The Stoic response is not to make a loud declaration. You don't need to post about cutting them off. You don't need to fight or argue. You simply step back, quietly, peacefully, with strength, because the truth is, you don't owe anyone your stagnation. You don't have to stay small just so someone else can feel big. You don't have to dim your light to keep someone comfortable in their shadow. So remember this, if someone only loves you when you're weak, that's not love. That's dependency wearing the mask of affection. And as a Stoic, your task is not to hate them, but to rise anyway, to keep moving in the direction of your growth, no matter who tries to pull you back. Because your growth is not betrayal, it's your birthright. The third mask is one of the trickiest of all, the emotional controller. Now, these people rarely shout, and they rarely demand outright. Instead, they use something far more subtle and far more powerful than force, your emotions. They disguise control as concern. They don't say, "You can't do that." They say, "I just worry about you. I don't feel right when you do that." It sounds protective, it sounds caring. But look deeper, and you'll see it's not about love. It's about control. Maybe you've heard phrases like, "I just don't feel comfortable with you hanging out with that friend." You really shouldn't wear that at your age. People might talk. Working so far from home, aren't you afraid someone might take advantage of you? Notice the pattern? It's never direct force. It's emotional negotiation. They want you to second guess yourself, not because they want the best for you, but because they want you to need them to feel safe. And here's the dangerous part. You begin to shrink without even realizing it. You stop seeing friends because they don't approve. You give up hobbies because they don't understand. You avoid decisions that might upset them. Slowly, your world gets smaller until your life revolves around keeping them calm instead of keeping yourself strong. I once heard a story from a woman married for 20 years. Her husband never yelled, never raised a hand, never cursed at her. But over the years, she lost her friendships, gave up her passions, and stopped making decisions for herself. She told me, "He just wants what's best for me, but I feel like I'm living in a glass cage." That's not protection, that's prison. A prison built from guilt. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Freedom is not simply being unchained. It is the refusal to let your mind be ruled by another's emotions." And that's exactly what emotional controllers do. They rule you not by chains, but by guilt. So let me ask you, how many of your choices are truly yours? And how many are shaped by someone else's feelings? Do you say no because it's your boundary, or because you're afraid of disappointing them? The Stoic path doesn't demand rebellion or rage. It asks for clarity. It asks you to draw a line between care and captivity, between love and control. That doesn't always mean leaving. Sometimes it means speaking with calm firmness. "I appreciate your concern, but this decision is mine, and I will take responsibility for it. Notice the difference? You're not fighting, you're not justifying, you're simply reclaiming your life. Epictetus taught, if something costs you your peace of mind, no matter what it's called, it is too expensive. Love, friendship, even family, if they come at the cost of your freedom, then it's not true love. So here's the reminder. Someone who truly loves you doesn't need you to live in a cage. They want you to be free. They want to see you strong. And they want you to choose to come back, not stay, because you're emotionally chained. The emotional controller may not scream or threaten, but make no mistake, their quiet grip can be just as suffocating. The Stoic response is not anger, but awareness. Not explosive rejection, but steady boundaries. Because your life is not meant to be lived as a performance for someone else's comfort. It is meant to be lived with strength, with clarity, and with freedom. And no matter who tries to hold you with guilt, remember this: your peace is not theirs to own. The fourth mask is one you might not notice at first, because it rarely shows up as open hostility. It's the quiet saboteur, the person who never tells you no directly, but somehow always makes you hesitate. This is the friend, the coworker, maybe even the family member who is always right there beside you, but never quite with you. When you're excited about a new idea, they don't celebrate. Instead, they say something like, "That sounds good, but you know most people fail at that. The economy is tough. Maybe it's not the right time." At our age, why not just relax? Notice what they're doing? They're not forbidding you. They're not even being mean. They're simply planting seeds of doubt. And the tricky part is that it always comes wrapped in concern. They'll say, "I'm just being realistic. I'm just worried for you." But their honesty doesn't lift you up. It makes you shrink. I once had a friend like this. Every time I was ready to take a step forward, start a project, learn a new skill, he would offer advice. Not harsh, not loud, just gentle, logical concern. That's a lot of pressure. You're already doing fine. Why make things harder? At first, I appreciated it. It sounded like care. But after a while, I noticed a pattern. I only heard from him when I was about to grow. And every time, I walked away with less excitement and more doubt. That's the saboteur. They don't attack your dreams. They erode them slowly, quietly. And if you're not paying attention, you'll mistake their fear for wisdom, their doubt for guidance, their sabotage for care. So why do they do it? Sometimes it's jealousy. Sometimes it's fear of being left behind. Sometimes your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. Whatever the reason, the result is the same. You stay small, and they stay comfortable. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The wise man does not need the approval of others to do what is right. He only needs to be sure he is not betraying his own nature." That's the Stoic answer to the saboteur. You don't need to argue with them. You don't need to prove them wrong. You don't even need to explain yourself. You simply need to stay true to your path. So let me ask you, who in your life always brings up the risks but never the possibilities? Who points out what could go wrong but never cheers when something goes right? Who leaves you feeling less certain, less excited, less alive after you share your dreams? Those are your saboteurs. The Stoic response is clarity. You don't need to confront them with accusations. You don't need to cut them off dramatically. You just need to adjust what you share. Stop handing your dreams to people who only know how to break them. Because here's the truth. The saboteur doesn't stop your growth. You stop your growth when you let their doubts take root inside you. Their words are just echoes. Whether they become walls or background noise, that's your choice. So the next time you hear, "I'm just being real," pause. Ask yourself, is this realism or is it subtle sabotage? Then choose accordingly. Walk your path anyway. Let your consistency prove the truth over time. Because the saboteur may be quiet, but your determination can be louder. And when you choose clarity over doubt, their whispers lose power. The fifth mask is harder to spot because, on the surface, it doesn't even look malicious. It's the energy drainer, the person who never insults you, never mocks you, never openly sabotages you. And yet, every time you're with them, you leave feeling heavy, tired, and strangely guilty for even feeling that way. You know this type. Their life is one endless storm. There's always a new complaint, a new crisis, a new reason why the world is unfair to them. At first you think you're being a good friend, a good partner, a good listener. You comfort, you encourage, and that's what makes it so sneaky, because in the beginning, it feels like compassion. But over time, it starts to feel like suffocation. Their conversations drain you, not because they need solutions, but because they don't actually want solutions. Pain has become their identity. Playing the victim is the only way they know how to feel significant. And unfortunately, you've become the audience for their performance. I had a friend like this years ago. Every phone call was filled with drama. How unfair their boss was, how lonely they felt, how nothing in their life ever worked out. I tried everything: listening, giving advice, even helping them make changes. But no matter what I said, nothing improved. They wanted validation for their suffering, and I had unknowingly signed up to be their permanent support line. That's the danger of the energy drainer. They don't stab your back, they slowly bleed your spirit. And the more you give, the emptier you become, until one day you realize you're carrying a burden that was never meant to be yours. The Stoics remind us of something essential here. Compassion does not mean self-destruction. Epictetus once wrote, "A loving soul is not the one who carries every burden. It is the one who knows which to carry and which to set down." In other words, you are not obligated to be everyone's savior. Ask yourself this: do you avoid certain calls because you know they'll drain you? Do you dread seeing someone's name pop up on your phone? Do you feel guilty for even wanting space from them? If the answer is yes, you may have an energy drainer in your life. So what's the Stoic response? It's not cruelty, it's boundaries. You don't need to cut them off with anger. You don't need to shame them for their negativity, but you do need to protect your fire. Because if your flame goes out, you can't bring light to anyone, not even yourself. That might mean saying, "I can't talk right now, I need some space." It might mean meeting less often. It might simply mean not absorbing their emotions as if they're your own. None of this is selfish. It's self-preservation. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you're angry at someone, ask yourself, have I given them the power to control my mind?" The same question applies here. Every time you walk away drained, ask, did I choose to give them my energy, or did I let it be taken? The truth is, some people don't want to climb out of their storm. They just want company while they sit in the rain. And you, my friend, were not born to drown with them. So remember this: love doesn't require burnout. Kindness doesn't require sacrifice without limit. If someone leaves you empty over and over again, it's time to step back, not with hatred, but with clarity. Because protecting your energy isn't just for you, it's for everyone you were meant to shine on. Now let's talk about the sixth mask, one that shows up often in the workplace but can appear anywhere: the credit stealer. These people rarely fight you openly. They don't need to. Instead, they wait for the moment you've done the hard work, then they step forward and claim the spotlight. When things go well, they slide in with words like, "We did it together." But when things fail, suddenly it was your fault, not theirs. You know this type. They show up in group projects, in family achievements, even in friendships. You carry the weight, you put in the effort, and they step in at the final moment to take the recognition. And if you're not careful, you start doubting your own contribution. I once worked with someone like this. I spent weeks preparing a presentation, crafting every detail. During the meeting, he stood up, introduced the project as something our team had been working on, and as he explained the slides I had created, He sprinkled in phrases like, "I suggested this part," or "I thought we should emphasize this angle." At the end, the compliments from leadership didn't come to me, they went to him. And what stung most wasn't the stolen recognition, it was the quiet voice inside me asking, maybe I really didn't do enough. That's the real danger of the credit stealer. They don't just rob you of acknowledgement, they rob you of confidence. And over time, if you let it continue, you start shrinking, accepting the background role as if you don't deserve the spotlight at all. So how do we deal with this? The Stoics offer us a radically different perspective. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not the applause of others that makes an action good, it is the action itself." In other words, the value of your work doesn't depend on whether someone else gets the credit. The value is in your integrity, in doing the right thing, in living true to your nature. That doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you anchor your sense of worth in something deeper than recognition. You make your contributions visible in clear, professional ways, but you don't let bitterness consume you, because bitterness is another kind of theft. It steals your peace. Here's a question to reflect on. Do you measure your value only by whether others see it, or do you measure it by the truth of your effort, your consistency, your growth? Because the credit stealer only has power over those who need applause to feel real. Think of it this way. Their reputation may rise temporarily on borrowed light, but borrowed light always fades. Eventually, people see patterns. They notice who really delivers, who truly carries the weight, and when that moment comes, your steady record of character speaks louder than any false claim. Epictetus said, "If someone does you wrong, the harm is not in what they say or take. The harm is in what you allow yourself to believe." Don't believe the lie that someone else's recognition defines your worth. Don't hand them the power to decide how valuable you are. The Stoic response is steady and unshakable. Keep producing, keep showing up, keep building a body of work so undeniable that no amount of theft can erase it. Because credit is temporary, character is eternal. So if you've ever had your work stolen, today, but they can never take the truth of what you've built. The seventh mask may be the loudest of all, the drama creator. Unlike the quiet manipulator or the subtle saboteur, this type feeds on chaos. They thrive on turning small issues into big battles. They live for tension, gossip, and conflict because drama is their stage, and without it, they feel invisible. You know this person. You share a small challenge, and suddenly they blow it up. Oh, that person must be against you. If I were you, I'd never let that slide. Wow, sounds like you've got a real enemy there. It's never calm. It's never constructive. With them, life always feels like an episode of a soap opera, loud, exaggerated, and exhausting. I once had a coworker like this. A simple scheduling conflict became, in her words, a plot to undermine her career. A casual comment from our boss became evidence of favoritism. At first it was entertaining, even funny. But then I realized being around her made me anxious, suspicious, and distracted. I started to see conflict where there wasn't any. That's the power of the drama creator. They don't just stir chaos in their own life. They pull you into it until you start living in their storm instead of your peace. Why do they do this? Often, it's because drama makes them feel important. The bigger the fire, the more attention they receive. And if they can keep you reacting, they know they have power. Here's the problem. When you engage, you lose. Every time you argue, defend, or fight back, you're feeding the chaos. And the more you feed it, the stronger they feel. This is where Stoicism offers us an escape. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters." The drama creator wants you reactive, emotional, unstable. The Stoic response is the opposite. Observation, calm, and refusal to enter the stage. So ask yourself, Who in your life thrives on chaos? Who constantly pulls you into fights that don't belong to you? Who drains your energy by magnifying problems that could have been solved quietly? With these people, the solution isn't louder arguments or better comebacks. It's clarity. It's the quiet strength of saying, "This doesn't belong to me. I will not play this game." Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are disturbed by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them." In other words, the drama only enters you if you allow it to. Think of it this way. Drama creators are actors, always looking for an audience. If you refuse to buy a ticket, the show cannot go on. And that's the Stoic victory, not silencing them, not fixing them, not getting the last word, but simply refusing to be pulled into their storm. By doing that, you protect your calm, your energy, and your clarity. Because your life is not meant to be lived as endless theater. It's meant to be lived with peace. And no drama creator, no matter how loud, has the right to steal that from you. So the next time someone tries to drag you into their chaos, pause and ask yourself, do I want to join this storm, or do I want to remain the stillness at its center? Choose the stillness. Choose clarity. Choose peace. That's the Stoic way. And we've walked through 7 masks, 7 ways a dark heart disguises itself in everyday life. Let's take a moment to recap them. The friendly manipulator, the one who chips away at your confidence while pretending to be your biggest supporter. The fake love, the one who only loves the weakest version of you and withdraws when you begin to grow. The controller, the one who wraps control in the language of concern and slowly shrinks your world. The saboteur, the one who never forbids you but always plants doubt, clouding your dreams in the name of realism. The energy drainer, the one who never attacks but leaves you exhausted every time you give them your time. The credit stealer, the one who quietly steps into your spotlight, feeding off your work while you shrink in the shadows. The drama creator, the one who thrives on chaos and conflict, dragging you into storms that were never yours to begin with. 7 masks, 7 faces of subtle toxicity. None of them scream, none of them threaten, but all of them can weaken you if you let them. And here's the truth. You cannot control these people. You cannot prevent them from existing. Dark hearts have always been here, and they always will be. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal inside his own palace. Seneca was surrounded by envy and politics. Epictetus lived through cruelty and slavery, yet all of them taught the same lesson. The real battlefield is not outside, but inside. Because the danger isn't really in what these people do. The danger is in how you respond. The manipulator wins when you absorb their doubt. The pretender wins when you feel guilty for growing. The controller wins when you surrender your freedom. The saboteur wins when you hesitate. The drainer wins when you burn yourself out. The credit stealer wins when you measure your worth by applause. And the drama creator wins when you step onto their stage. But the Stoic doesn't let that happen. The Stoic sees clearly, observes calmly, sets boundaries quietly, and most of all, refuses to hand over their peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the essence of our defense. Strength is not in controlling others, it's in mastering ourselves. So ask yourself, which mask have you seen most in your life? Was it the friend who always left you doubting? The family member who used guilt as a leash? The coworker who stole your credit? Or the person who made every moment into a storm? Whatever the mask, the lesson is the same. They can only take what you allow. And here's the victory. You don't need to fight them. You don't need revenge. You don't need to cut everyone out with anger. All you need is clarity. The calm refusal to let their poison define your spirit. The steady discipline of walking your path anyway. The quiet strength of choosing peace when they want chaos. Because in the end, toxic people only win if you lose yourself. And that is the one thing a Stoic never gives away. So if you've started to recognize these patterns, take heart. You are not powerless. You are not alone. You are not weak for feeling drained. You are simply awake now. And once you see the masks, you can never unsee them. Your job is not to change the dark-hearted. Your job is to guard your own heart, to cultivate peace so deeply that no manipulation, no false love, no drama, no stolen credit can shake it. And when you do that, when you choose peace over reaction, clarity over confusion, and integrity over revenge, you've already won. So let them play their games. Let them wear their masks. Because in a world full of mass and manipulation, the greatest rebellion is to remain unshakable. Stay sharp, stay strong, stay stoic, and I'll see you in the next lesson.